everybody. Welcome back to Real Horror. This is awesome. We're going to be getting into Hannibal season 1, episodes 10 and 11. And first, I want to welcome Vinny for being here yet again.
Yes, it's been a blast, and there's only 2 left after this for this
Yeah.
first season, and boy, these really get dark.
Yes, I know. I can't believe we've only got one more week of this. 2 more episodes left.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's wild.
it's
And
really good. Yeah, guys,
yeah,
guys and girls, if you haven't seen the series yet, jump on it. It is so good, so well written.
yeah, absolutely. And a couple of people have already showed up in the chat. Toy Mafia, nice to see you.
Hey, man,
And Lurch, good to see you as well.
what up, Lurch? Good seeing you, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. All right, so yeah, let's jump right into it.
Yep.
So, all right, so we'll start off. We're at season 1, episode 10, and we are in Greenwood, Delaware, and we see a girl. She's walking into her house, and I love the part right outside. Already, I love the scene because she has like a wolf statue on her deck.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they filmed it, when she's walking in the house, it shows like it looks like the wolf howling in the night. I loved that scene.
I like that.
Yeah, it's cool, and I would love to like have one of those little statues. Okay, okay, so then we see we hear like we're hearing some creaking like in her shed, like by the house.
Yeah,
And
barn shed area thing. Yeah, and I like how they shot this too.
yeah,
When she goes inside.
yep. And hello, Tommy. Nice to see you.
Hey, Tommy. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. I mean, every episode is filmed great. Like the filmography, cinematography, everything is well done. But yeah, go ahead and talk about that if you want to. If there's something in particular you want to mention.
Just like the setup for it, because it did feel like something out of a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they did this, because it's nighttime, it's winter, there's snow all over the place, and when we pan back to like that kind of shed or barn area, whatever it is, now the door's open. The way that they did it was really good. It's just, and they kept the same exact shot. It's just, we saw her close, she goes in, she's getting ready for bed, then we see it open, and she's basically getting into her bed, and it's like the ceiling starts to drip. There's like spooky elements. The way that they set it up is really solid. Like I really enjoyed how they did all this stuff.
Yeah, I believe I absolutely agree with that. Like it does. Yeah, this does have a horror feel. It really does.
Yeah. Tommy's right as well.
Yeah, Tommy says, you know what's a horror movie? Walmart After Dark. Yeah. It's basically Walmart at any time of day.
Yeah, I was there today, and can confirm. It was cold as shit outside for us. It's in the low 50s, rain. Just disgusting outside, and it's like a drop of water hits the floor, and everyone becomes like either mentally challenged. And they turn into monsters at the same time. I don't know. I can't explain it. It was like a circus.
Yeah. It's weird because like people can't handle weather. It's just it's insane.
I don't know. It's because they're extra lazy, so they don't even bother. It's like they're just like they're going to the circus instead.
Oh, I know. I mean, we could have a whole like stream about Walmart and the people, like how they dress to go there and how they act when they're there. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a culture. I don't understand it.
I can't explain it either. Red Gaze and I used to do that. We used to have those streams where it was just like the whole Walmart episodes. They were nuts. There are people with no pants on in the freezer section. Like,
Oh,
oh yeah, it was wild. Some of the ones that we covered.
no, man. It's bad. And Stig says, "You know what's a horror movie? Penis scented candles from Amazon lit in a room full of blind altar boys."
Oh Jesus.
Oh my god.
I don't know what you're shopping for on Amazon, but that's wrong.
Yes, yeah, it says that there is a website called People of Walmart. Yeah,
Yep.
I that's
Yep.
been around for ages, and yeah, I'm well aware of that.
Yeah, that's what we used to cover. We'd randomly jump through, like, I don't know, page here. We'll do just the people on page 25 today, and then we'd go through them, and it's, oh my god, it was hilarious.
Oh my god. Tommy says, "Have you ever looked around a Walmart and felt like Bruce Campbell as Ash in Evil Dead 2 with the crazy camera panning?"
Yes,
Yes.
today can confirm.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
All right. So we're going back to the show now,
Right,
and
right, right. Yeah, her ceiling's leaking. Her ceiling's leaking. And
yep.
so there's a couple of drops. You think it's one little leak. She looks up, and there's a good amount that's just her whole ceiling is getting like filled with water. So she goes up to like that attic part, and we see like there's snow on the floor, and there's like a huge hole in her ceiling.
Mhm.
So yeah, we see her get like her like little plastic tarp, and she's got her staple gun just to kind of keep it there for the night, and she makes her way back down to bed.
I like how in that scene it also shows the outside where it looks like kind of like footsteps in the snow on the roof outside.
Yes, yes,
That
that was really
yeah,
good.
that
Good,
that
yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, good catch. But yeah,
Um
really good stuff.
yeah. And then she goes back to her room, and then as she's walking back to her room, she sees like the wet footprints on
Hmm.
the floor, and
Yeah,
and
she
then
follows them with a flashlight.
yep, she's fallen with a flashlight, and then suddenly she's like grabbed by someone from like under her bed,
Hmm.
and she's dragged like under the bed, and then we just see blood splatter,
Yeah,
and that's the like that's the beginning of the show, like that's the intro. And hello, Lion Latin, good to see you.
what's up, buddy? Good seeing you, man.
Um, and then next thing we see is Will is having a session with Lecter, and they're talking about Abigail, and how, you know, he like Will is really bothered about how, you know, she killed Boyle, Nicholas Boyd or Nicholas Boyle.
Yeah, Nicholas Boyle, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Boyle.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
brother of one of the victims.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, his first name is Nicholas.
yeah,
I just can't remember if it's Boyle or Boyd, but either way, he's really bothered about that, and he's like, you know, we lied for her, and this is really eating at him. And there's Lecter just sitting there justifying what they did, and Will is like, you know, he's saying how he's feeling like he's fading away, and that he's still experiencing the time loss stuff.
yeah,
And then like as a test to see, you know, his cognitive, like where he is neurologically and cognitively and everything, Lecter
hmm,
has him draw a clock face. And I don't know if they still do this with neuro tests, like to test for like dementia and stuff like that, but they used to have patients draw a clock face
hmm,
with the numbers and stuff, and we see at Will drawing, and it looks like a normally drawn clock, like
yeah,
and he tells them like draw what time it is and all that
yeah.
stuff.
With the big hand and the small hand, and it's like
Yep,
they like he was like, humor me. He's like,
yep,
Will Graham, humor me. So he
yeah,
does, and then like we see he passes the pad back to Lecter,
yeah,
and Lecter sees it's like an odd shaped circle, and all the numbers are almost on one side,
yeah,
and outside of the circle you have a
yep,
couple inside the circle, and then the lines for the hands of the clock are completely out of whack as well.
yeah,
And Hannibal's not saying anything, like, oh, like, he's just staying quiet, keeping it to himself, basically. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the beginning of the nefarious stuff. That's his manipulation games are getting even worse with
Yeah.
Will during these. And yeah, they're oh man, yeah, they really progressed the story in a big way.
Yeah, big time. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a jump. These two
Yeah,
episodes are a jump in Will and Lecter's dynamic. Yeah, like you mentioned, he keeps that messed up clock drawing a secret. He doesn't even react to it very like stone face. It just kind of like puts it in his book and just closes it.
yeah,
Says nothing about it. Whereas, a good doctor would be like, okay, I think it would be a good idea for you to, be assessed by a neurologist and then explain, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
you,
Yeah,
you know, and he does none of that.
nope.
So next thing we see is Will at his house, and he's coming in from fishing. He's a fly fisher. We see him often through the series, like um, tying his like fly fishing hooks things.
Hmm.
So he's bringing in the fish that he caught, and then he's preparing it. He's like preparing the fish, and then we see like a bunch of blood pools out from the fish, and then it kind of fades, like it kind of cuts to him murdering the woman that we see in the very beginning of the episode, as if like it puts him in the scene as if he's the murderer. It like jumps
Yeah.
right to it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he literally has like the murder weapon in his hand,
Yep.
and her whole mouth is like cut open,
Yep.
and like almost like the top half of her head is almost peeled back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's freaking. He's got blood all over his hands. He
Yep.
goes to grab the door to open up the door, and as soon as he opens up the door, he sees Jack Crawford and
Yep.
the other people from the FBI there,
Mm.
the ones usually there for the crime scene. And Will is like panicked, fearful, and like, what the hell? And basically, he contaminated the crime scene. Um,
Yeah.
he has no idea how he got there.
Yep.
He literally thought that he killed this girl, and like his mind is really slipping. Like
Yep.
it's some crazy powerful stuff that they did.
Yeah, yeah, and then outside, Jack is talking to Will, and he's like, this is me being officially concerned. Like, he had expressed concern about Will's, mental health and everything, but now he's like officially concerned.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that like went into his record or not, whatever that means, officially concerned. But we'll even mention, like,
Hmm.
he reiterates officially, like, kind of like, what does that mean officially? And then Jack also asks, like, I feel like I've broken you, have I broken you? And basically Will says, like, well, is there anybody better? Do you know anybody else that could do what I do better, who isn't broken? And um and it's just kind of, it's left at that. It's like that is basically how it is. Like, there is nobody better at this than
Yeah,
Will.
yeah. Because Jack still needs him, but he knows
Yeah.
he's getting into really bad territory now.
Yep. Yep.
That it's like, yeah, okay, if because you've never done this before, you've never contaminated a crime scene,
Yeah.
and Will is basically trying to make excuses of like, um,
Yep, because he was in, like, he was over the body, like, he wasn't just in his mind reenacting it like it usually does. He was
yeah,
actually in the scene, like, doing it, and he was
mhm,
in the blood, and he's got blood on his hands, he's got the
yep,
web, like, everything. It was way, way beyond what he's ever done before.
hmm,
So yeah, that officially like spooked Jack.
yeah.
And then yeah, so next we see
And again, Lawrence Fishburne, his performance is so good.
oh
Like
yeah.
every time he's on camera, you want to see more of him.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. All of these characters, like, they are so this is such a well-written show, because all of these characters, even the ones you are not supposed to like, you still want to see more of them on screen.
Yep.
That's great writing.
It is. It is. It is so well done.
Yep. So we go back upstairs, and they're discussing like who the killer could be and some and everything, and basically, they deduce that this is someone. They're looking for someone that knew her, and the victim's name is Beth LeBeau. We find that out, um, and then they discuss how the killer like cut up her face and then kind of like tried to put her skin back, and Will said like she was removing a mask. And then and then they were talking about how she has like skin, the victim has skin under her nails, but there's like no blood. It's like how can she have like scratched this person
Yeah.
without also taking blood with it? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And well, there were two things that they said could have caused that.
Yeah, they end up getting into that later on at the lab. They have they put it together, but they do end up like saying staph infection or leprosy.
Yeah.
That was a couple of the theories. So then we see like how this usually goes once they like talk about what kind of killer they're looking for. We usually see Will talking to Hannibal also about like what kind of killer this could be and all this stuff. So now it kind of follows a formula. So now Will is at Lecter's, and Will this conversation is interesting because Will, instead of it being about the killer and what we just saw, it's about Will and how everything, like he is kind of like he's showing signs of mental illness, but Will doesn't want to accept that it could be mental illness and stuff. And so Lecter does recommend a neurologist and says, but you have to accept that if they don't find anything, then it is mental illness.
Yeah.
And so this is a game, like this is the mind game that Hannibal is playing with him.
Yeah, because they also even talk about how they're keeping it from Jack.
Yep.
Because they're working together because they both also share a secret, because in their conversation they're also talking about how Abigail committed murder and they helped cover it up basically.
Yep.
And they each all murdered someone. Will doesn't realize how many people Hannibal killed.
Yeah.
He just thinks that it was Tobias, their Franklin's friend. To supposedly kill Franklin, but
yep.
It's wild.
It's funny how Will can deconstruct and reconstruct any crime scene, but he cannot figure out Hannibal. He just got these blinders on when it comes to Hannibal. But it's brilliant also because it shows how cunning and manipulative Hannibal is, and how good he is at it.
He won Will's trust completely.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
when he questions him, he still goes along with whatever he's saying.
Yeah. Yep. He won Will's trust, and it's like it seems like Lecter is the only one that Will can be completely open with. And it's because they share this kind of dark secret about Nicholas Boyle.
And their protection over Abigail.
Yes.
Which, did you notice too, that girl in the beginning, she definitely fits that profile as well.
Yeah, I did notice that. It was creepy.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so this has to be done on purpose. And we kind of see that it sort of is.
I know.
Further into the
it's
because
like
of what Will starts to see.
Yeah, this is crazy.
That's really
So
good.
yeah, so Hannibal recommends a colleague of his, a neurologist,
Hmm.
and he goes with Will to see the neurologist,
Hmm.
and the neurologist's name, man, can't remember it.
Oh, I forgot to.
I have it in my notes and I can't. Oh, Sutcliffe,
Okay.
Dr. Sutcliffe. Yep. Um, yeah. So he's asking Will about his headaches and all that stuff, everything that Will's been going through, and he says that Will says it's been about 2 or 3 months, and then Lecter interjects and says it's basically started when he went back into the field, and so he's kind of like, you can tell that he's trying to like drive the narrative that this is psychological.
Hmm.
And so they end up Sutcliffe decides to do an MRI on him, and while Will is getting his MRI, Lecter and Sutcliffe are outside the room, and Lecter says, he says it's encephalitis, and Sutcliffe goes, "Well, how do you know?" And then Lecter says he can smell it, and Sutcliffe goes, "Oh, so you've progressed from being able to tell like what perfume people wear into diagnosing diseases and stuff." And
Hmm.
he says, "Well, that, and then tells him about like the symptoms and the clock and all that stuff.
Yeah.
um and then they discuss like the opportunity about basically just studying Will and
Well,
um
because yeah, what had happened too? Because as they're putting him into the machine, Will's starting to see under the bed, like he just slid under the bed, like his mind is going into the house of where the murdered woman was, and he's like he sees her feet there. Like it's almost like he's re-envisioning him, like when he stands over the crime scene and getting into the mind of the killer. Like he's starting to see that. But
yep,
yeah, when that doctor and Lecter, they're looking at his scans, he goes, "Oh my God, half of his brain is completely lit up."
yeah,
And he goes, yeah, this is clear what that is. And like he wants to tell Will, and that's when the Lecter goes like, well, why would you do that? You're like, what do you mean? And you could see because they both have a darker side to them, and that's why I guess he picked his colleague here to do this, because he knows he's shady. And he goes, well, what else will we do with him? And that's when he goes, oh, we have opportunity is what I see. Because he goes,
yep,
I see the encephalitis, and he goes, I see opportunity.
yep,
And when we see Will, he's got his clothes back on, he's talking to him. I goes, we didn't find anything. Your scans are fine.
yep,
We'll have to do more tests and blah blah blah, because they want to test and see how far this goes. And we know that Lecter really wants to manipulate Will even further. And it's starting to get dark.
yeah, yeah. It's so nefarious because Sutcliffe is he wants to study him from a scientific standpoint, and
Hmm.
Hannibal, this is a perfect opportunity to um absolutely manipulate Will and basically get away with whatever he wants, because
Hmm.
he could just say, "Oh, Will is imagining everything because of all the psychological stress he's under and everything like that."
Hmm.
This is a perfect opportunity. Um, so yeah, it's so nefarious.
Hmm.
Um, so next we see Jack is now talking to Lecter. They're having a discussion in front of Lecter's fireplace, and Lecter, Jack is kind of like saying he's worried about Will and stuff, and Lecter says, "You knew, what you knew that you were putting Will in harm's way," and Jack says, "Well, Will's gonna be okay. He's always okay." And Lecter says, "Not always. He got a scan today, which showed there's nothing wrong." And he was actually upset about that because he doesn't want to admit that it's mental illness.
Hmm.
So he's putting that bug in Jack's ear.
Yep.
Um, oh man, he's
Yeah.
so manipulative.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fucking bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great for storytelling and drama. But
Yeah,
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 it's just, man, he is so evil.
yeah, big time. It's
Mhm.
oh man, the writing is fantastic.
Yeah. And we see what happens to his friends. We're gonna see.
Yeah, yep. Um, okay, and so next thing we see is Will is Will goes to back to the crime scene, and he's saying like okay, I'm in Greenwood, Delaware. It's 10:36. You know, my name is Will Graham. All this stuff, like Lecter gave him these tools to kind of keep him grounded, like so that he knows like
Hmm.
what he's doing is real, and where he is and all that stuff is reassurance and everything.
Right.
And then he kind of like as he's at the scene, he sees this like scary looking woman under the bed, and then he kind of like goes near it, and then the bed flips over onto him. The killer, she goes to run. Will grabs her arm, but the skin peels off like it's like a
Like a
glove
glove.
that came
Yeah.
off. And the next thing we see is Will is in the woods, and he comes to, and he looks at his watch, and it's 1:17 a.m. and and he's like, he goes, if you can hear me, you're alive. And it's like he again lost like 3 hours.
Yeah. And he was shouting it because
Yeah.
just in case, because yeah, he doesn't know how long he was there for, what else
Yep.
happened.
Yep.
Yeah, and I like that when he did grab her by the arm like that, and the skin pulled back, so it was like from forearm to about the wrist.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it was creepy as shit.
Yeah.
And
It was
at that
gross.
point too, we don't even know. We think this could all be in his head.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
doesn't
That
know either. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a brilliant thing
Hmm.
is we have no idea, just like Will has no idea what's real or not.
Yeah.
Um yeah. Yeah, we have no idea, which is fun to be on that ride with him.
It is because this one got really trippy. There's so many moments that was like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um and then we see Will and Beverly are going into the house, going up to the crime scene, and it looks undisturbed. And she asks, you know, like, why did you call me here? And he says, because I'm not entirely sure that what I saw is real. And I was really surprised that he admitted that to her.
Hmm.
And she's like, well, and to her credit, like, she's awesome. She's like, well, okay, then let's prove it. And then he explains what happened. He's like, I grabbed her arm, and a layer of his skin came off. It was just like a glove. And Beverly says, she's like, oh, and then they talk about the conditions and stuff, like staph, leprosy and stuff. And she's like, that's why she doesn't bleed. There's no circulation. And then she asks Will what Will did with the skin, and he can't remember.
Hmm.
And Beverly theorizes, uh, yeah, that's when she theorizes about leprosy. And then they talk about how the woman looks jaundice, malnourished, her eyes are discolored, and she seemed deranged. And and then and then they talk more about like her kill, and Will figures out that she can't see faces, and
Yeah.
and that she might not even know that she killed Beth.
Hmm.
um and Beverly's like, why did she come back? And Will says, to convince herself that she didn't kill her. And then Beverly asks, is that why you came back? And he kind of walks up to her, and he says, I I'm sure that I didn't, but I just want to know who did.
Yeah.
But like she's handling him well. I really have to give her a lot of credit for this,
Hmm.
because then she also says, you're a lot of talk. You like the talk of the town at the FBI, with everything that's going on with you. and he asks like, well, what's everybody saying? And she says how they think that Jack has pushed him kind of to the edge, and that he's
He went
basically
over, yeah.
he's going over. Yeah, he's like taking himself over.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, well, this killer has had time distinguishing reality, and I can identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's putting it out there to a few people that he is having a hard time distinguishing what's real and not.
Yeah.
He like, with everything that he has just said himself, not never mind what other people have just observed,
Mm-hmm.
but what he's saying himself should have taken him out of the field completely.
Yeah.
It's
Jack and Will, they actually have a conversation regarding that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I forgot what point it was, but
yeah, it's a little bit later into the show, into the episode, but yeah, they do talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's solid. That's what I love about this.
Yeah.
For anyone who's watching, if you guys haven't seen it, jump on it because it is so good. There's horror and grotesque things at times, but the story is so good and the psychological aspect is like top notch. Some of the best I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't really think of another series that gets even close to the type of psychological games, and it takes a lot to write a series like this.
Yeah. Come to think of it, you're right. I don't think I've seen another show that gets this deep into someone's psyche.
Nope.
Like this. Like, yeah, I think this is the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic writing.
It really is. And again, to take characters too from the book and from the movie and weave their own tale like this.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of love that was put into it,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Brian Fuller was absolutely fantastic with this series.
Yeah. I mean, he's made his changes, and like I'm not going to fault him for that either, because it kind of makes more sense anyway. So if we remember, like the Philip Seymour Hoffman was in the movie Red Dragon. He was Freddie Lounds, and in this, it's the ginger girl instead. And the tabloid.
So the one time that there's a ginger female, and it like instead of being replaced, she replaced someone else.
Yeah.
Like it's usually the other way around.
Yeah, nobody was black. It's usually a black person replaces the female ginger character. But yeah, it was yeah. It was a ginger replacing another ginger. But like I said, though, it makes sense, and I'm happy they kind of went the direction that they did, because it's really good. It is.
Yeah,
I forgot Harvey Keitel was Jack Crawford in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now that you mention it.
Yeah, like I said, they did so many great things, and they weave their own tale, but it all works so well.
Absolutely.
We're probably gonna have to watch the damn movie too after all this, or at least after season 1. I think.
Yeah, totally. All right. So next we see Will is back at Hannibal's, and Will's drawing another clock, and he draws the same messed up clock like he did before.
Mm-hmm.
And Lecter is like well, Will says that that they didn't find anything on the scan and everything, and I consider Lecter to be lying to him about the scan by not telling him the truth.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything. He just kind of goes along with Will, like he goes along with the story that the scan is clean, and then he says, he asks Will if he can run some tests on him, and and then Will, Will's like, whatever you write about me, whatever you publish, can you keep my name out of it, and like just
like anonymous.
Yeah, and he's like, can you just like, I'd rather it be released posthumously, and then Hannibal goes, "Your death or mine?" And Will goes, "Whichever comes first."
Yeah. Which was yeah, it was good.
Yeah, man, poor Tense. And then like just talking about like this new victim. I mean the new killer, and he says, "Have you thought about Cotard's syndrome?" And he explains how, it's the syndrome where you're convinced that you're dead, and and um and what else, and then the inability to identify others is also a symptom of Cotard's, because that's Will's theory, is that she can't recognize faces,
Mm-hmm.
and that she was trying to like either uncover the victim's face, or that she couldn't see it. And that's when Lecter says, yes, that can be a symptom of Cotard's. um and then they figure out, she can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Lecter then leans over and says, she can't trust anyone she once knew. Her mental illness won't let her. That's that was so
Mm-hmm.
manipulative that he
Yeah.
said that to Will, because that is the game he's going to play on Will.
Yeah.
That yeah,
It's dark.
yeah. I love how in this show the 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 story, like, there's always the running theme of
Mm-hmm.
kind of like what Will's going through, and of course Hannibal,
Yeah.
but then there's also like the kill of the week.
Right.
And I love how they tie the kill of the week into the story of Lecter and Will.
Yeah.
It's woven nicely.
It is. It really is.
And the next thing we see is Will is in bed at night, and we see the woman outside of his house, and then we see her looking into one of like his kitchen window or something like that, and she's like just watching him, and he's kind of like having like a bad dream.
Yeah. He's sweating all over.
Yeah, he's like he looks sick.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then
It looks like he's literally having a fever dream.
yeah,
He's like, isn't that where he sees like the ocean and stuff?
that comes a little later, but
Oh,
yeah,
that's later.
he's having nightmares. Like you can see that he's not sleeping well. He is not well at all. And you can tell it's not just psychological. There is something definitely you can just observe it. There is something physical going on.
And it was trippy too that she followed him all the way home like that.
Yes.
Like as a viewer, you're like, oh, is she about to kill him? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Like what is she doing there?
Yep. That was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then next we see Jack and Will are talking. This is at FBI headquarters, and they actually are talking to the girl's mom. Oh man, what is her name? Forget her name. Georgia.
Mm.
Yeah, her name. Yeah, the woman, the killer, is her name is Georgia. They're talking to her mom, and we find out that like her mental illness started in childhood, and she had been taken to a lot of specialists and tests and all that stuff, and they never really had any answers for her, and they told her that really all that she can do is just manage expectations. And I love this because right after she says that, we see Jack in his office, and Will walks in and he goes, managing expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about himself, like managing expectations about me. Like I just love how they do that.
Yeah.
And then they're talking, and Jack is like, why didn't you quit when you had a chance? Like, why did you stay on? And he says, I have a theory, and I think it's because you need stability. Like, you need this routine.
Yep.
And yeah, I think he's right about that.
Yeah, because he goes, yeah, you had a chance to leave and you didn't.
Yep.
Why didn't you? And he's like, it's because you like this. You like the routine. You like what this brings you as well.
Yep.
Because we also see that Jack, he manipulated him to begin with, but he still, I mean, he knows that he's getting kind of dangerous now, but he knows he still is the best at what he's doing. So he doesn't want to get rid of him either.
Yeah, it's nuts because I feel like the two prominent people in Will's world are using him.
Yep.
And the only one that he like
It was actually three, but yeah, two of them are definitely using him. The third one, it actually loves him.
yeah.
And
Yeah, she's like she's a prominent person in his life. She's the only one that doesn't use him. Like, she's just a kind person. She doesn't
Yep.
she cares about people in general, and she definitely cares for Will.
Yep.
So next we see Dr. Sutcliffe, that neurologist, and Hannibal are having dinner, and he mentions that Will has asked for more tests, and Hannibal says that, well, now that we know what's going on, what's wrong with him, it'd be easier to hide it from him. It's like, you bastard.
Right.
It's awful how people treat him.
Yep.
And so so next we see Will is getting another scan at Sutcliffe's, and he goes in, and then we see, like, when the table comes out of the machine, and Will gets off it, and he's like looking around. Usually, like, you're escorted off, and there's like you're not just left on your own after you have a scan. Like, there's a doctor or there's nurses that come and get you, and
Right.
and like, there's nobody. So he gets up, he gets his clothes, and he's kind of like, just walking around. Then he sees blood on Sutcliffe's office door handle. So he goes in, and that's when we know that Sutcliffe is dead. And oh my God, that scene.
That was really gruesome for television.
Ooh.
That was really. I was like, wow, they aired this.
Oh my God, I'm gonna try and see if I can find a picture of it.
Yeah, because oh my God, yeah, his whole mouth is like cut open, and like the whole top part of his head, it's like completely peeled back.
Oh yeah, I've got a picture of it. Let me. Oh
Yeah,
no, can't do that. Let me see. This episode, man, these screenshots.
Yeah, it was wild.
All right, what I'm gonna have to do is share the entire thing. All right, guys, I'm gonna show this for you. And yeah, it's this one right here. So, oh, that was so nasty.
Yeah, it was.
I can't enlarge it because it's actually a Reddit thread, and when you try to click on it, it's not safe for work. I guess you could only see it if you have an account, and I don't have an account there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, oh man, that was such a gruesome scene.
Yeah, because technically that is not safe for work.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. And then what happens next after that?
Then we see the Beverly and all them, like they're there.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The crew is in and everything, and Beverly's checking him. She's like, "You're clean," because Will, since Will can't distinguish fantasy from reality, he thinks he did it, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, like a black light on him to double check that he's got no
yeah,
spatter on him, because there would
yeah,
have been blood everywhere. They said. So,
yes,
but this was really cool too, because as we saw in there, when he starts to see things again or whatever, or well, what we're being shown as the audience rather,
mm-hmm.
because they found like that kind of flesh on the that same disease that they found in the other place. They
Yep,
find it like on the weapon or was the scissor.
yeah, yep, the
Yeah,
scissors.
yeah. Because then when we actually see the scene, we see that the sick girl, she walked in on Lecter taking the guy out.
Yes, that's yep.
And
Last
that was, see, it's the first time we've seen him actually in the middle of a kill.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. That's how this episode leaves off. And
Mm-hmm.
oh my God. Yeah, that reminded me of American Psycho. How
Mm-hmm.
like how
And Dexter. I got a vibe of both of those.
oh yeah, that's true. Dexter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is another series that delves into the psyche. Um
Yes.
I would say almost as much as this show. Dexter would
Yeah,
be a close second.
I'd say so too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
This definitely takes the cake because there's so many different layers. With Dexter, it's usually just it was him and
Mhm.
then the serial killer of the series.
Yeah.
Or per season rather.
This season,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think the closest I came to it is when they did the 2 seasons together that had John Lithgow on it.
Yep.
That's probably the closest where we got to see that much. But this one, because of the manipulation games of Lecter, with not just Will but everyone who comes in contact with him, because you can
Yep.
see what he's done to his patients. We see what he's doing to his colleagues. It's everything about him is people are his toys. It's his world. It's in the game he's playing, which
Yep.
is yeah. That's what makes this series so powerful.
Yeah, big time.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but before we get to that last scene,
Mm-hmm.
after oh, okay, yeah. So they want to figure. They're like, how did the tissue get? How is the same tissue that was at Beth LeBeau's house? How is that here? And Will's like, well, I'm the only common denominator,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, the killer, she must have followed me here, and Jack is like, why though? What,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like why? And he's like, maybe she heard me say that I have a habit of collecting strays, so she's kind of like drawn to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then next we see is Will is at his house. He's sleeping, and this is when. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, he's sleeping, and all of a sudden his dogs start growling, and Will this wakes Will up,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of looks down because where the dogs are looking, he looks down, and it's under his bed, and
He jumps out of that bed like Spider-Man.
yeah, and hello, this is my design. Hey, you're
Hey,
on
what's
the
up?
right stream. Nice to see you.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, she so he looks down and she's under his bed, and the way he springs off the bed um was hilarious. But he's like and then he's like, he was nice though. He's like, you're okay, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Um and everything, and he's trying to comfort her and everything, and she's like, am I alive? And then she reaches for Will, and like that was a moment, like
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like that was, they
Yeah.
had like some kind of weird connection there.
Mhm. Yeah, but also the humanity of it too, because he's like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's reassuring her, yes, you're alive, you're alive.
yeah,
So yeah, we see two broken souls like kind of reaching out to one another,
yep,
um, and yeah, and because you could tell like she's scared, she doesn't know what the hell's going on either,
yep,
But yeah, it's wild. That whole stuff is wild, and then yeah, she's like in that kind of like that air chamber thing.
Yep, she's in one of those oxygen chamber things that they put burn victims in.
Hmm.
This is where we see Jack and Hannibal talking, and Hannibal is telling Jack, she's getting the help she needed. She needs, and like they're treating her like a burn victim because she's lost a lot of fluids and even some bone mass.
Yeah.
And
And we hear them talking to it if it's reversible, and they said that it is.
yeah, he says she may even recover fully with like electroconvulsive therapy.
Yeah. And just by
Um,
being in that air chamber, we already see like her face and stuff is looking a little more normal because
yeah,
she really looked like something out of like Walking Dead.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yep, she's starting to look more human.
Hmm.
So yeah, she's starting to recover. And then Lecter says that I'm. He goes, I'm most concerned about Will, and Jack says, I thought you'd be more concerned about your colleague, Doctor Sutcliffe. And uh, Jack says that, yeah. Oh yeah, and then
Lecter, he's
yeah,
what did he say? I'm mourning him, but Will is alive, so like
yes,
his priority is on Will.
yep, yep. And then Jack says that he wants to talk to Georgia and asks like, how much do you think she'll remember? And Lecter says like, hopefully for her sake, not that much. And then we go to a cut scene where
She walks in on Lecter doing the deed to his
yes,
colleague, and he's wearing that clear plastic suit.
yeah,
And
it's
when
like
he turned,
overalls, but it's plastic.
yeah, but it's like with the zipper and everything,
Yep,
but his face is exposed. But
yep,
as the character, she can't recognize faces, so you just see like his nice hairline, but you don't see his face is like a blur,
yep.
you know. So and because of the structure of his face, it almost looks skeletal. So I really like how they did that.
Yeah, it's nuts, and he knows that she can't really see him,
Hmm.
so he doesn't worry about her. He
Yeah.
hands her the scissors and walks off, and that's how the episode ends.
Yeah, so that's how her DNA got on the scissors. She didn't kill
Yep,
them; they were literally passed off to her.
yep.
Yeah,
Oh man, that was a fantastic episode.
yep, it was.
A lot of mind games and just yeah. It was like to see Hannibal actually during that kill.
Hmm.
That was like oh, it was like wow.
Yeah, we were
Like
waiting for that.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
because
was
we saw him take out the Tobias guy, but it was almost like that was like self defense. This is the first time we're actually seeing him do a brutal murder. Like it's in the middle of the act,
yep.
you know. So
Yep. We
because a lot of
see
times
like
they cut away when he was going after other people, or we get hints of it.
yep.
We get the satisfaction on his face when it's like the one in the woods who was in the antlers. We always
Yeah.
see the aftermath. We never see him actually doing it until episode 10.
Yep. This was full exposition. It was awesome.
Yeah, it really was.
All right. So now we go on to episode 11. And okay, so this episode is about Gideon, the Chesapeake Ripper.
Hmm.
And this was good. This wraps up that storyline, and
Yep.
yeah, I enjoyed this episode.
It was good, yeah. Because yeah, and then
Yeah,
we get into yet again another character from the movie and from the series, which is the guy who was running the prison slash crazy ward there or whatever.
yep, Dr. Chilton.
Yeah, and I remember seeing this on television too, and when it first aired, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what are they doing? They're gonna veer that far away from the book and from the movie, because there's a lot of extreme stuff that happens, but they kind of don't, and they sort of make sense out of things too. So,
Yep,
yeah, no, it was done well. It's done really well.
yeah, absolutely. And this is my design. It says, "So awesome. I love Hannibal's kill suit. I almost bought one from the show at auction. Sadly, wasn't to be. Great review, y'all. Loving this."
Oh wow.
Well, yeah, that would have been awesome if you scored that. And
Shit.
yeah, so glad that you're enjoying, this stream.
Yep.
And yeah, happy to have you.
Yeah. Welcome, and yeah, glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, because again, this series it's so good. And Trina like mentioned it to me, like, yeah, would you want to do this with me? I'm like, oh, absolutely. You kidding me? I love
Yeah.
this type of stuff. Like Dexter's one of my favorite all time series. The original one, except for like the last episode of the original series.
Yeah.
That bummed me up. But yeah, and this, oh my god, everything about the 3 seasons that they had were so fantastic, and they kept pushing the envelope with the stories and stuff. It's just like, how are they going to continue this, or how are they going to do the next episode? And and they were able to weave it all back in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
a fan of Hannibal.
Yeah, Frankie knows I'm a fanable of Hannibal. That's fantastic.
You could have added the last one too, Frankie. I'm a fan. I'm a fanable of Hannibal the Cannibal. That's his moniker, Hannibal the Cannibal.
Yep. All right, so the first thing we see in this episode is Lecter. Yeah, Lecter and Dr. Chilton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put in my notes. He's the head of the psychiatric facility that held Gideon from the earlier in the season.
Yeah, and they're in the Supermax prison there, which again is the same one from the movies, by the way.
Yep. And Lecter is saying someone who doubts their own identity can be more susceptible to manipulation. And this is actually, so Lecter and Chilton, they're actually at Lecter's house. Like Chilton is having dinner over at Lecter's.
Mm-hmm.
This is the opening scene. And then Gideon, I'm sorry, Chilton said that Gideon is a psychopath, and Lecter says psychopaths rarely doubt who they are. And Chilton says, I tried to appeal to his narcissism, and Lecter goes by convincing him that he was the Chesapeake Ripper. So he's kind of like making fun of him.
Yeah.
And Chilton goes like he's looking
because he sees it. Chilton, he has his chip on his shoulder, and we see that Hannibal's chopping it down because again he's pissed off too that he let that guy believe that that's who he is, because that's Hannibal. He's
Chesapeake Ripper.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's upset that that was taken from him.
Yeah. So he kind of he's kind of he has contempt for Chilton. Like you can see it. He's
and that's why he starts manipulating him too, and like having these games with him, which again in the movies he really he goes even further.
Yeah, it's funny how Hannibal can easily manipulate everybody. Like he's just superior, like intellectually superior to so many people.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why I work with Clarice as well, because she was never trying to be smarter than him.
Yeah.
And he knew it. That's why it was almost like a respect thing, and And then it's funny. He ended up kind of like Gideon with what's her face? The other doctor, Alana.
Alana, yep.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. That is true.
So pretty good how they did this.
And so Chilton is like staring out the window, and he says, "If only I had more interest in the common mind." And Hannibal goes, "I have no interest in understanding sheep, only eating them." And then Lecter goes, Kudal, or however, I don't know how you pronounce it, a South Indian curry made from sheep, of course. Mm-hmm. And we know that he's talking about people,
Yes.
and so that they discuss how Chilton's psychic driving for on Gideon failed because he pushed too hard and stuff like that.
Yep.
And
Because he goes, yeah. Because once they know that they're
mhm.
being lied to, the trust and everything completely goes. So you have to be 100%.
Yep.
That was the thing that he was saying. So if you're not 100%, yeah, they're going to resent you and they're going to come after you, basically.
Yeah, like they can't be aware that you're doing it. Like
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
once you push too hard,
Yeah.
they know they can like
He throws that extra insult in there too, because he's like, if you're not smart enough to do it, like he really, yeah, because we see that's what Hannibal's doing with all of them.
yep.
So yeah, and it's an extra fu to Chilton. Like, you're an idiot. Like, you think you thought you knew what you were doing because you're like a child.
Yeah. And hello, Time Prophet. Thank you for the elephant.
What's up? Thank you. Oh, shit.
And okay, so then it cuts to Will's house, and all right, and now Will is having a nightmare because we know that Will is now sick with encephalitis, and
Mhm.
his nightmare is nuts. He's so like there's like
He's like
like
in
an
a,
iceberg.
yeah, he's like in a snowy area, and
Yeah,
it looks like he's almost like overlooking the ocean. And yeah, like there's a
yeah,
huge iceberg that completely
it
like
crumbles.
crumbles,
Yeah,
melts. And when he sees a totem pole of people again. Like, he's seeing
yes,
the past crime scenes.
yep.
Um, yeah, like it's breaking him, and as we see him like sweating like that, like it's getting worse and worse, and he's almost being like completely surrounded by water. Um, yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
the
great,
visuals are
great
so
visuals.
solid. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like at the closer the water, like there's a tidal wave coming, and the closer the wave gets, the more water is around him and everything.
Mhm.
And he even like at one point, like wakes up and like looks at his clock, and the clock starts like melting.
But turning into
Um,
water.
it's turning into water. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
it's wild how they did that.
looked awesome.
Yeah, because
And
you thought it would
then
be like what's a Dali with the melting clocks, but it wasn't.
yeah,
It was more like liquid. It was like water itself.
yep, yep.
Pretty cool.
And then just as he like this is the water takes him over and like he goes underwater, he wakes up like for real wakes up. Um and like it's
Yeah.
nuts.
At that point, he probably thought he had, like, I don't know, 20 beers, because like like there's that much water in the bed. You think he pissed himself?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like when they were showing the water I have forgotten all of these like I think the last like 4 episodes of this season, I think I've forgotten all of them. Um
Yeah, there's a lot of shit. Like, when it was happening, like, oh, okay, oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like I'm watching them brand new. So it's kind of awesome.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Y-
And I know, like, I don't remember like the other two seasons as well.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it's just, yeah, because like all the time that went by in between when they aired and going back. So yeah, that's why I love rewatching them.
Yep.
So good.
Yep. And
It
so
proves, Hollywood and the television community, they were capable of doing really good stories. This was
yeah,
prime
absolutely.
time. This was
Yeah.
not HBO, not any of that stuff, and we had that same caliber because every episode feels like a movie, same
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah, absolutely. But like yeah, Brian Fuller did a fantastic job on this series.
Yeah, you did.
And it's fun. It was funny because as he's having that dream and with the water all around, they show how like he's surrounded by water in his bed. I was thinking, is he gonna wake up and like have peed the bed or something?
Hmm.
But no, they didn't go there. It was just a dream.
Yeah. Although he was soaked.
Yeah, he was definitely like drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Gideon is like they're readying Gideon for transport to court, and he like Dr. Chilton is there, and he and Chilton are arguing, like he's saying, you pushed me to think that I was the Chesapeake Ripper, and that's why I'm suing you and stuff. And Chilton is like, no, no, like just arguing. It's like he doesn't even act like a doctor.
Yeah. He's being like a
Just
petty dick because he's like, he
yeah,
knows, like, oh, because I'm in such a high position,
yep.
like, no one's gonna believe you anyway. You're just,
Yep,
he's calling,
you're just a crazy guy. They're gonna believe me, and like, yeah, he's just an absolute
yeah,
asshole.
cocky. Yeah. If we
Yep,
remember from the movies, it's pretty much, he's doing that same kind of thing.
yep, yep. Um, and so, yep. Okay, so okay, so this was awesome. During transport, he starts like talking to the guards, and like he's asking, like, "Hey, you married?" and stuff like that, and like he's kind of just messing with him. He's like, "Don't you don't have to answer. I can see the clock in your eyes, like it's like about getting divorced and stuff." And then he turns to the one guard who is like he has all of his whites on, and he says, "How do they keep them so clean?"
Hmm.
And then the next thing we see is um like
Extreme close up.
yeah, like a very like close up of the blood pooling
It's like
on those
seeping,
whites.
yeah, seeping through.
Yep,
Yeah, it was wild. That was really cool.
yep,
And it was almost like the same type of camera that they used on like the Dexter, like the opening in Dexter when he's
yeah,
cutting the blood orange and he's tying his shoes and all. It's the same type of thing. Like they did a really good job with that.
yeah. I love Dexter's opening. That
Yeah,
was so cleverly done.
yeah, nothing beats that.
Frankie says this show was cinema quality. The production was high quality, great actors to top it off.
Yep,
100%.
absolutely.
All right.
Loved it.
So now it is a crime scene, and Jack, Will, everybody's there, and the prisoner transport van is empty, and then Will does his reenact thing, and Jack asks, like he says to Will, "Do you think that he still thinks he's a Chesapeake Ripper?" And Will says, "The man that did this is having a difference of opinion about who he is."
Hmm.
And we see, and then they pan over to the side of the road, and we see organs hanging from trees by the side of the highway.
Yeah, that was disturbing.
Yes, big time. And they're like tied to the trees with like veins and stuff like that.
Yeah, a couple of them
Uh,
were tied with bows. Well, using the veins and or the other organs, like he made nice little bows. And yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jack's talking, and he's like, yeah, it was, he's just he's proving that it's him, and they're like, no, because he left the organs. The Chesapeake Killer, those were his prizes, so he's taunting him. He's doing it on purpose, leaving them tied like that and with bows on them,
Yeah.
because he wants like a reaction from the actual Chesapeake.
Like yeah, like a present,
Hmm.
like come like drawing him in.
Yep.
Time Prophet says, "I refuse to watch Dexter because I really don't want to celebrate a murderer pretending to be a good guy."
It's more psychological than that, and it's
Yeah.
it's not even that. If you do end up watching it, because yeah, I read with the second book, but yeah, the way that they did it is different and it makes more sense because like he was almost guided into taking out the bad guys. It's not that it's a little more complicated
Yeah.
than what goes into it, but essentially his adopted father is a police officer who kind of gives him this code to kind of go by because he knows that those urges were coming, and instead of having him being a lunatic and just murdering all sorts of people, he kind of trained him in a way to just take out the bad guys and to be sure of who he's taking out.
Hmm.
So, but again, it gets even more involved because it's not something that he ever wanted his adopted son to do. And with this, what is it, New Blood, the new series? The first episode is available to watch. What is it, like through Amazon or whatever. It's for free, the first episode, and I would say that it's worth watching because it does give you insight onto how it's even okayed. Because his father figure would have not, he would have never okayed this, but something very crazy happened, and Dexter brought justice. So yeah, it's like I said, it's very well written. It's not something that they're not glorifying it.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
and in later seasons, you see too the torment that he has because he wants to be a good person, but yet he's got this dark side to him. And yeah, there's nothing that glorifies it. Although
Yeah.
the end of season 1, you get a certain view in his mind, but other than that, yeah, there's and later in the series too, there's something else where they sort of hints in that direction, but they don't stay there.
Yeah.
So
So Time Prophet asks, I really couldn't watch it. I mean, what if he took out a good guy by mistake?
well, that's where the drama and the conflict comes into. So
Yeah.
because there are moments because what is it? It's seven. Was it 7 seasons in the main?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't 7 seasons.
It was either
I
7 or
can't
8. I think it
remember.
was, yeah. I think it was 7, and then 8 was the garbage New Blood or whatever it was. Like that was terrible.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the newest one where they kind of go into the younger version of him and how it all started. It's pretty solid. I know Draven said he's watching it. I don't have the channel or whatever the hell it was on, so like, I was only able to watch the first one, but I did like it. The first one they did really well. So
Yep. Yeah. I loved it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely not like, it's sort of like, well, Tommy's in the chat. Like Tommy doesn't want to watch Breaking Bad because of the meth and everything. And I absolutely like respect that.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of people like, in order to understand it, you have to see it. Like, it's definitely not a glorification. Like, there are definite consequences. Like,
Yeah,
Dexter faces consequences,
mm-hmm.
and
Same with Breaking Bad and Walter White. Because
yeah,
there's moments where you're rooting for him, and there's other times you're like, oh, what a piece of shit,
yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Like, yeah, it's very nuanced. Like, it's
Yeah.
not
But nothing
it's
nothing is a glorification at
no,
all
no.
on either series.
No, it's definitely not. I could never sit down and watch a glorification of that kind of stuff.
No, not at
No.
all. No. Yeah.
All right. So, okay.
Or romanticizing it because it's not that
Yeah.
either. Although there's
No.
moments on Dexter where it wants to lead the audience in a certain direction on that, and then it doesn't. It'll pull away from it, and
Yeah,
it
because
shows you.
it
Oh, sorry.
shows like the backfire. It shows
Yep.
even Dexter struggles with what he does.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a very well written show, just like this one, honestly.
Yeah. Again, if you like the psychological type of dramas and stuff, because
Mhm.
that's more or less what it is, and
Yep.
it's really ingenious. Some of like the serial killers on each season, they're very unique, and yeah, it's wild. It's wild how they did some of it. Because
Yep.
if they were that off or that really disturbing, because again, it's not a glorification. If it were, the series wouldn't have been as popular as they were. You know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, okay, so back to the show. Okay, so yeah, organs hanging from the trees, and then, yeah, Beverly says that, he took a bunch of police equipment and a uniform and stuff. And then Will says that the Chesapeake Ripper wouldn't have left organs behind like this.
Mhm.
And Jack asks, what if, no, Jack says if Gideon isn't the Chesapeake Ripper, then he's definitely trying to get his attention. So they're figuring out that that's what Gideon's motive is.
Mhm.
And Beverly says that the local PD has picked up a foot trail, and that Gideon is headed back to Baltimore. So next we see Will and Alana are visiting Dr. Chilton, and what an asshole. So this is a contentious meeting, and he is trying to blame Bloom for planting the idea that that
Gideon
Chilton
is the Chesapeake.
Yeah, like he's trying to pawn the blame off on Bloom, and she did absolutely nothing wrong.
Yep.
And then like he's so they end up arguing, and
she's like, I did no such thing, It's like, what the hell crack are you smoking?
Yeah,
homie.
yeah. She's like, what did she say? Was your were you wrecked with guilt when your nurse was killed, or something like that? And while they're having this argument, Will steps in and he says, Gideon is not the Chesapeake Ripper, although he may have thought he was under your care.
Mm-hmm.
And Alana says, whatever he does or doesn't think is really, that's not the issue. If he thinks he is, or if he's just confused, he is going to kill again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when Chilton says, I hope he doesn't do that for your sake. I can't imagine how you'd sleep with yourself with that on your shoulders. And you see Will over by the window, and he's kind of like rubbing his eyes. He's starting to have like an episode, and the words are echoing like around him. And Alana says, how did you sleep when Gideon killed your nurse? And then Will walks over to Alana and kind of puts like his hand on her arm to kind of like calm her down, and asks Chilton, what does Gideon want?
Mm-hmm.
And Chilton says that the last thing he told me was that he intends to tell everyone that he is the Chesapeake Ripper. And then and so that's done. And then next thing we see is Jack is in Jack's office. Jack is briefing the agents, and Will is watching, like he's leaning against the wall and he's watching Jack do this, and he starts to have another episode, and this time he sees antlers all over the room, and he imagined
he's in the attic of Hobbs.
Yeah. And he starts to imagine like Jack like walking towards him and speaking to him, like kind of yelling, what kind of crazy are you? You will kill again. And then he kind of like snaps out of it, and then we see Jack, is just talking to the agents, and he looks over and he catches Will just kind of staring at him.
Yeah, and you can see again, Jack knows something's wrong with Will.
Yep.
But he's still letting him do what he's doing.
Yep. And then we see Will is at Lecter's, and he's explaining what happened to him, and he's saying, I don't feel like myself. I feel crazy. And he says he fears not knowing who he is, and then he's like, he figures it out that that's what Gideon fears, not knowing who he is.
Right.
And Lecter thinks that Gideon wants to find the Chesapeake Ripper in order to gauge, who he is or who he isn't, and tells Will that, Will, like he says to Will, you have me as your gauge, and Will kind of looks at him and like barely nods.
Mm-hmm.
It was an odd exchange.
Yeah.
And then now we're at the lab, and the team is going, they're going through all the communications to find like what Gideon is up to. And Will goes, you're not going to find anything, because whatever is going on with him is in his head. And they start talking about how, all the bodies, like the only thing, like he left all the organs intact, but their brains were scrambled. and Will starts having an episode right there where he starts to see like water running out of the what is that called, the doors where the bodies are stored, the refrigerators for the bodies.
Yeah, like the little morgue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cold storage or something like that.
something like that. Yeah, I can't think of the term either right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's essentially like the morgue.
Time Prophet, when he gives up human flesh and becomes a vegetarian, we will finally get the movie Silence of the Carrots. Oh man. Yeah, and then this is when so nobody notices that he's having an episode because they're all trying to just figure everything out, and Jack asks, why did he do this? Why did he remove all the other organs but just like scramble up the brains? And Will says because that's what they did to him. They got in his head and just they pushed and prodded and gave him tests and told him who he was, who he wasn't, all that stuff. And and Jack says, and then that's when Jack says that he wants a list of every psychiatrist or whoever that's ever talked to Gideon. And Will goes to his lecture hall, and Alana is there, and Alana asks if Will is going to be her protective custody. That's a little bit flirty.
Yeah, and I'd say she definitely ramped it up on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's like, well,
that dick.
And he's like, well, no, you'll have someone with a badge to actually protect you and stuff. Yeah. And
what do you say? Someone who's not as mentally.
Yeah,
so he took a shot at himself.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, he's being honest, really.
Yep. Because they promised that to one another. They did.
Yep, that's true. That is true. So. Yeah. And so she says, "Oh, that's too bad because I was looking forward to, like, what did she say, like curling up and having a cozy night with your dogs." And he's like, "Well, you don't need protective custody for that." And he's like, "Well, you don't even really need me. All you need is stability." And then she goes over to him and she reaches up to him and she's like, "You feel hot." And he goes, "Well, I always run hot." And she's like, she says, "You should," talking about a fever, she says, "You should take an aspirin." And he kind of takes a bottle out of his pocket and he shakes it and he says, "Way ahead of you."
Yep.
And then she's like, they're talking still and she's concerned that they're going to kill Gideon. And she says, he really isn't completely responsible for his actions if there was outside influence. And Will's like, "Oh, you mean like Chilton convincing him that he's the Chesapeake Ripper?" Right. And then Alana, feeling guilty, says, or me telling him that he's not in a state of mind to even know who he is.
Right.
Oh my God, Tommy, that's true. Tommy says there's no silence with these pigs and carrots. Nope. Oh man. Yeah. We can whenever you like in the backstage with Tommy after streaming, you can always hear the pigs like going week, week, wicked loud. And I remember that from having guinea pigs. They're funny.
They're awesome.
Yep. And so Alana's feeling guilty, and she asks Will what he thinks is going to happen to Gideon when Gideon finds the Chesapeake Ripper, and Will says, "Well, Chesapeake Ripper is going to kill him because he took credit for, the work that he didn't do. It was Chesapeake Ripper's work." Yep. And the Chesapeake Ripper will consider that rude.
Yep. It's a stolen identity.
Yeah, basically, to plagiarism and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So now we see Freddie Lowndes getting in her car, and her cell phone's ringing, and it's Gideon. He's pretending to be this person, Dr. Paul Carruthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, who wrote an article on Gideon, and he's like, I read your article and stuff like that, and she's like, and I read yours, and so they're like
Yeah.
basically admiring each other, and
Yeah.
um,
He's buttering her up so that
yeah,
she'll come for this interview at his office.
yep, yep. So he lures her to an interview, and so next thing we see is Freddie, heading into Dr. Carruthers' office, and as she walks in, we just see the look on her face, but we don't see anything but her face, and then there's a cut scene to like an IV bag and like filled with blood, and we see like a one of those lines, like the line that the IV goes into in your vein. What the hell are those lines called? IV line or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And we see one of those filling with blood,
Mm-hmm.
and then we see the look on her face, and then we see Gideon is standing like behind Carruthers, the real Dr. Carruthers, and he's got a a Colombian necktie, and he's holding a gun,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, what do you think? And he's like, nuts. He's absolutely
Yeah.
nuts. And I'm gonna try to see if I can get a
Yeah. Is it? He did a really good job with this.
yeah.
You
I'm
know,
gonna see if I can get a
his kind of crazy was awesome, but yeah. So basically, it's they open up the neck and then they take the tongue and they take it out of the neck and it rests like a tie.
oh man.
That's
It
why it's
was
called the
yeah.
Colombian necktie. And it's still moving around. He's trying to calm it down to make it go all straight. Like, yeah, what do you think? Like, so proud of his work.
All right, I'm looking for a good picture of it.
Mhm. I'll be honest too. I prefer her over what's his name? The guy who died, the Seymour guy.
Yeah, she's a good character.
Yeah.
She's good in the show.
And for me, it feels like it makes more sense that it's a female, because like she'd have a better in, and more people would talk to her rather than just like the shitty reporter that everyone can't stand, the tabloid guy.
Yeah.
You know, because like she's more manipulative, and it kind of makes more sense too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the.
I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yeah, it's very small, but
It's
yeah,
small. Yeah. Let's see if I can get a better picture.
Oh, I got the one where it's wiggling.
Oh, you okay?
Hold on, I got this to another window. No momento. Present.
Time Robin, nobody ever does a Colombian bow tie.
Yeah. Well, it'd be a little trickier.
Oh, good. Yes. Yeah. All right, you gotta. Yeah, and when he does that, when he like tries to like calm the neck down, he goes eek.
Yeah. It was funny.
Oh man.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, because at this moment, is he dead? Because I remember he's still hooked up to the blood bags.
I think he's dead. That's why it's like the last kind of twitches basically of him. Yeah, he's strapped to the chair, but yeah, he's not moving.
Yeah.
His eyes are like partially open, but yeah, he's out. He's done.
Oh yeah. That was quite the scene.
Yeah, it was. It was wild. Dude, I'll say one thing too, man. He had like such cool and crazy suits throughout this season.
I love the way they dress Hannibal.
Yeah, because he has like that flair where it looks like he's almost from like the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
But yet then there's all this modern stuff.
Yeah,
And yet the suits are they're tailored so well and everything. Like all of his tires are like huge like that.
I know.
All of them.
He's
Like you
so
see,
sharp looking.
yeah. Like there, yeah, there's an extra kind of class that they give him, but it all makes sense.
Yeah, like he's so sexy.
Here we go. She's like, yeah, I don't watch shows where they glorify the serial killer. She's like, he's sexy.
No, 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 no. Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah. No, he's great. Everything about this dude is like, yeah, so spot on. His performance is like, yeah, excellent stuff. Don't forget, he was Lashif in the 007 movie. The guy
Yeah,
who had the
yeah.
tear.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, he is. Him and his brother.
Wait, do I know what has his brother been in?
He's been in a lot of different. Oh, he was on the Kevin Spacey show, House of Cards.
Oh,
He
I loved that show.
he played the Russian, the Putin character.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that's his brother. I think he's also the one. I haven't seen it because I don't watch any Star Wars shit, but he plays the dude with the blue skin.
Tarkin?
Uh,
Admiral Tarkin, is that his name?
I don't remember the character's name. I'm not that familiar because I guess he was from something from the Old Republic or one of those things.
Okay.
I'm not as versed in, with the Star Wars lore, but yeah, apparently he plays like one of the big baddies. Like he's got the white top with the black pants and his skin's all blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know the character you're talking about.
Yeah, he's been in a number of other things too, his brother. But yeah, I'll have to find what the hell his name was again too.
Okay. All right, you look that up and then yeah, okay, so what's the next thing? Okay, so yeah, and then the next thing we see is Jack, Will, and the crew. They're at this scene with Carruthers, but Freddie and Gideon are gone, and Jack is describing an article that Carruthers wrote on Gideon about like Gideon is a pathological narcissist who suffers from
Thrawn. That's
Thrawn. Yes,
that's
Thrawn.
the character's name. But yeah, this is Lars Mikkelsen sharing the screen. So I know another detour. Yeah, this guy.
Yep, I remember him.
Yeah, and again, fantastic actor.
Yep.
Yeah, both of them were, they're really good. Yeah, when I found them, like, oh yeah, how did I not put that together? They have the same kind of structured face. Especially, there he's a little bit younger without the beard. But yeah, you can definitely see it.
Yeah. Yep.
Good stuff, yeah.
Great actors, both of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was on The Witcher? Okay. But like I said,
never watched that.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff, this guy.
Okay, so all right, let me see. Yeah, Jack and Will and the crew are at the crime scene, and Freddie and Gideon are not there anymore. And Jack is talking about an article that wait, who wrote? Oh, Carruthers wrote about Gideon, about being a pathological narcissist and all that stuff. Jack thinks that this is more than just getting the Ripper's attention. And Will says that Gideon's mind was dissected by like psychiatrists and whatnot. And now as a surgeon, he's applying his own skill set, by like cutting and all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely messed up. And he walks up to Carruthers' body and he says, he gave you something better to do with your tongue than just wag it. And it was so wild the way he said it to him.
Yeah.
And then Zeller says he was drained of blood till his heart stopped. and then they find all the blood in the IV bags in a cooler, and there's a note on top that says, "Please deliver to the Red Cross."
Yeah.
And Jack goes, he's peacocking for the Ripper. Like
Yeah.
this is like a serenade. Like
Hmm.
yeah, Will says it's like flowers and chocolates before the first date.
Yeah.
And then Will notices that Carruthers' finger is um, on a computer mouse, so he presses it down, which brings up an article on the screen.
The tabloid, the Tattler.
Yep, Tattle Crime, which Freddie Lounds writes for,
Hmm.
and the headline is Chesapeake River rips again. And they're like, well, how does this article up? Like,
Yeah. How's that photo even? How did that get out so quickly?
yeah, like they haven't released any of this, and they're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, this was before we got here because they noticed that the blood bags were there.
And the timestamp.
Yep.
Of when it's released. Yeah. So.
Yep. And
That's when Will's like he had what's his face has or
yep. Yep. He says he has Freddie.
Yep.
So next thing we see is Gideon telling Freddie like they're in some place. We don't know at this point exactly where they are yet, but we do find out.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you're probably trying to figure out like the exits, but they're locked down, like basically telling her, don't bother.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, this relationship could benefit us both. And she's like, I could write an article for you and say anything you want and stuff. And he says, I enjoyed your article that you wrote on the nurse that I killed. And he's like, but it didn't seem like genuine Freddie Lowndes. And she says, well, Jack made her write that.
Mm-hmm.
To flesh out the Ripper, and Gideon says, and fleshed out he was, and then he said he waved Jack Crawford's trainee's arm like a flag right here in this room, and that's when we know that they're in that observatory where that arm was found.
Yeah.
And then Freddie asks, well, aren't you the Ripper? And he says, my mind might be fuzzy on this issue, but I don't need you to patronize me. And she apologizes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he explains like how he, trying to figure out who he is like trying to remember something from your childhood. Like, is it really your memory or is it your friend's memory? And then you find out like it's just a photo in a book, and like he's all confused. He doesn't know what end is up.
Yeah, like it could still possibly be him, but he knows that it's probably not, and it's almost that's why he's doing all these crazy things to lure out the real Chesapeake Ripper, because then it would also give him his clarity and his sanity back. For us seeing that he was, I mean, the guy's a killer.
Yep. And Freddie says that she's like, you waiting for the Ripper to come here, and Gideon's like, let's hope he gets the invitation. Because we know that he's an avid fan of your writing. And as he says that, it cuts to Hannibal in his office reading her article. So it's like all you have to do is the dots are right there. Just connect them.
Yeah.
He's the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to the lab, and there's a dead doctor on the table, and this dead doctor is Dr. Carson Nunn, and he was killed just like Carruthers and everything. And as they're talking and stuff, and they're talking about, they're asking about Chilton, like, where is he? He hasn't been answering his phone. He didn't show up for work and all that stuff. And Will says that Gideon wants to lure the Ripper. He wants to offer up the man who disrespected both of their identities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think this is when Jack like pulls down the sheet, and we see that he's like, but this one was different. Why amputate his arm? and Will says that this one was the Chesapeake Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this one is different. And then next thing we see,
Didn't he say it was also to taunt you, Jack? Because didn't I'm trying to remember the line of the conversation
yes,
that it's like, well, why would he do that? Was that something that the Ripper did? He goes, no, but he goes, it wasn't to taunt. He goes, the Ripper did it, but the Ripper did it to taunt you, and now
yep,
Gideon's doing it to taunt you.
yep,
Yeah, it was like something along those lines. Yeah, I don't remember, those specific details, but yeah, it was something like that.
yep. You're right. Yep,
So
that's how that happened.
yeah, that's how they kind of figure out where he is.
Yep. Okay, so and then the next thing we see is Alana talking to Will and saying, she says, "You said the Ripper will want to kill Gideon for taking credit for his work," and Will says, well, yeah, but Gideon isn't alone anymore, so the Ripper doesn't want to risk exposure, and he's telling them where to catch him, and he says, actually, Jack, he's telling you where to catch him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, and Jack is like, me? What are you talking about? And he says, where's the last place you found a severed arm?
Mm-hmm.
And so they head to the observatory, and on the way there, we see Gideon is prepping Chilton for surgery, and he's talking about how like it's best to do it under the local anesthesia so that he can see the look on his face and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Chilton says, "You're not the Chesapeake Ripper," and it's like too late for that. Gideon slices into Chilton's abdomen, and it's nasty. And Freddy's just kind of like looking, and
because she has, she's gonna be
yeah,
keeping him alive, is what
yeah,
Gideon says.
yep. Like when he's done, she's ready with the ventilator there to keep, pumping the ventilator if he like passes out or whatever. And it's weird because when he was cutting into Chilton, she wasn't as horrified as a normal person would be.
Mm-hmm.
There's something wrong with Freddy too.
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
Yep.
I can't remember where they go with her in the series, but yeah, her reactions are very interesting.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on her during that.
Yeah.
She has like some shock on her face, but it's not like that kind of fear that a normal person would have, or
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like horror like a normal person. Like we would be mortified.
Yep.
And then we see Jack and Willa driving to the observatory, and Jack is like, I think it'd be best when we get there for you to stay in the car and just, hang back. And Will actually agrees. And, they're talking about how, Will just looks like hell. And Will's like, I feel like hell. And he's like, no, actually, I feel like fluid, like he's just spilling out. Like,
yeah, because he looks like he should be in a bed with ice packs all around him. Like,
yeah,
he's even kind of like blacking out because as they get there, Jack kind of leaves him in the car.
Yep.
Because he's like, he's pretty fucked up. Just stay here.
Yeah. It's like it's like no one will take Will to the hospital. Like Will even says, like, I hope whatever I've come down with isn't contagious. It's like, get this man to a hospital.
Right?
It's funny. Yeah. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, is nobody looking out for this dude? Like, even Alana, she was, yeah, you feel high. He's like, oh, I'm fine. I got aspirin.
I know.
Well, wait a minute. No, you're burning up there, pal. But he did say something to her when aside from running hot, he says something else too, and that's what usually gets him even hotter. I forgot what it was though. You remember, like there was a certain terminology he was using that kind of like to get her off of his back about that.
I know that I usually run warm.
Yeah. He said
I can't remember.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he said something else that also gets him, to be that warm or that hot.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember what else it was.
Mhm. It's all
Um,
good though. But
yeah,
yeah, so but yeah, he's like shaking in the car too at a certain point, like when they all go inside. Like,
yeah, he's like trying to hang on to a dear life
yeah.
in the car, and it's like,
Plus, it's snowing and stuff too, and it's like it's so damn cold.
yeah,
Yeah, like yeah, definitely get this guy to a hospital.
it's nuts because there's tons of liability there. Like this is also a thing with the writing. It's like in real life, he would have been at the hospital a long time ago because there's tons of liability with Jack, like being his the person like he reports to
Yeah,
that would fall like
yeah, Jack's responsible for him.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But at
But
any rate, so
yeah,
this
but
is not this is make believe. So
yeah. Plus,
um
yeah, it's partly too because like, he's already seen a couple of doctors and like they're oh, you're fine, you're fine. So
yeah, that's
that could
true.
also. I mean, we got that on the previous episode, and it's like literally he had his brain scanned, and like oh yeah, they said he's okay.
Yeah, yep. So what can you do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Well,
just drop him off at the ER, I guess.
well.
But they get to the observatory, and Will does stay in the car. Well, to a point,
Mhm.
Jack heads in, and then we see Will get out of the car, and he kind of like he follows a stag into the woods.
Yeah.
Um,
He hears it, and it's
yeah,
normally he doesn't hear. Like he'll see the damn thing, and it's but he heard the sound first, so then he turns, and it's yeah. Like you said, he follows it into the woods, and
mm-hmm,
from the inside, like we see what's going on over there, but we also see Gideon, and he's a good distance away, but enough where he could still see the entire observatory,
yep,
and he's kind of like smiling. He's happy that they're there.
yep, yep. And then we hear like we see Freddy keeping Chilton alive with that like ventilator type thing.
Mhm.
And then we hear from outside, we hear Jack inside yelling, get medical in here.
Yeah, because he sees like he's got all of his organs are sitting there like in his hands. Because that's
Yes.
the one thing Gideon said when he was chopping them up. He's like, it's amazing how many organs you could actually take out of the human being before they start to, lose consciousness
Yeah.
before they expire. And it's yeah, oh yeah, it's disturbing that scene.
Yep.
But he's like, this man's alive. Get a medic in here now.
And then we see we see Gideon get into his car, and Gideon says, I was expecting the Chesapeake Ripper, or are you he? And then it shows Will sitting in the back seat with a gun drawn on him, a gun drawn on Gideon, and Will is like,
He's shaking though too. He can't
yeah,
see straight.
yep, he's messed up. He is not well. And he's like, turn around, and like just like he's like just drive, just like yeah,
Yeah, get out of there. And then like he's
yeah,
gonna tell him where to go. But we see through Will's eyes, and he doesn't see Gideon.
yes.
He sees Jacob Hobbs.
Yep, he sees Garrett Jacob Hobbs instead of Gideon. So he's in full delusion,
Mm-hmm.
like hallucination mode.
Yeah.
So they get to Lecter's, they get to Hannibal's, and Lecter's like, "Who do you see?" And Hannibal's like, "I don't see anybody."
Mm-hmm.
And now, as the audience, we don't know. Like we're thinking, wait, is he hallucinating?
Yeah.
Because
Because he
when it,
shows up there with a gun in his hand
yeah,
with Gideon there, and when he come in, Gideon is now seated at the table,
yeah,
and Will's still pointing the gun at him. And he's like, "What do
yeah,
you see? What do you see, Will?"
yeah, and like when it cuts to like what when he's like, "What do you see?" When he says that to Lecter, it cuts over to
An empty chair.
yeah, like nobody is there.
Mm-hmm.
And also when we see it through Will's eyes, it's Garrett Jacob Hobbs. So as the audience, we don't know what's real.
Mm-hmm. But we
At
find
this,
out during the scene.
yes, we definitely find out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's kind of like he's freaking out, and Lecter's like dining room or whatever room it was, and
Yeah.
he starts kind of having a seizure. His eyes roll back and everything, and Lecter gets the gun away from him, and yeah, like
Yeah,
he
he's like, put the gun down. He won't, and then he starts kind of convulsing a bit
yep,
as Lecter gets his hand on the gun, and then he puts it down on the fireplace as he's starting to like check his eyes and check his face and everything. And Will is just full on, his eyes rolled in the back of his head. He's kind of tremoring, and right away Lecter's like, he's having a mild seizure.
yep.
And then he sits down and he looks across and he starts talking to Gideon.
Yes. Yes, that's when we know that it is actually Gideon. Yeah, he's like he's
Yeah.
having a mild seizure, and
And Gideon's like,
Gideon.
aren't you or don't you want to help him? Or he goes, I said it was mild.
Yeah, yeah. And then Lecter sits down and asks, and he asks Gideon, "Are you the one that claims to be the Chesapeake Ripper?" And Gideon says, "Why do you ask me like that? Why do you say claimed?"
Mm-hmm.
And Lecter says, "Because you're not him, and you don't know anything beyond that."
Mm-hmm.
And
And
Gideon's like,
it's not nice to take credit for other people's work.
"Yep, yeah." He's yeah, he is not impressed with Gideon whatsoever.
Yeah.
And
And Gideon's almost like in shock, like oh my god, you're really him.
yeah,
Like
and
he has that all over his face. He's not saying it, but he's just, yeah.
yeah,
It was good.
yeah. So then Gideon says, "You should see how much I got from my psychiatrist."
Mm-hmm.
And then Lecter says, like Alana Bloom, she was your psychologist or doctor or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
Gideon's like, "Yeah," and Lecter goes, "I can help you find her."
And Gideon
And
starts to smile, like,
yes,
what? Like you're about to help me?
yeah, and then okay, so then after that, Lecter wakes Will up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Gideon leaves. We don't see Gideon leave because then we see Lecter waking Will up, and he does kind of like this simple neuro test, and he says you had a mild seizure and you hallucinated Hobbes,
Mm-hmm.
and then Lecter is kind of like getting ready and stuff, and Will says like, "Where are you going?" And he says, "Well, Gideon is so large, I need to, and I'm worried about Alana."
Lana, yeah.
Yeah, and Will looks over and sees his gun and the keys, and the next thing,
They were
Will,
they're purposely left there
yeah,
because Lecter's like, I'm gonna go over there, you stay
yeah,
here. Like he's kind of giving him orders, like I want to make sure she's okay, she's alive. So he leaves the room, but the gun and the keys are there. So we know that Hannibal planted him there because
yep,
Will is not gonna just sit in his hands. And true to fashion, he grabs him and goes out the door. We see Lecter he comes back into the room. He sees that the gun and the keys are missing. He smiles and takes off his coat and sits down.
yep.
He's in no rush to go anywhere.
He fucking
He
man,
manipulated the hell out of him right there.
he plays Will like a fiddle. It's insane.
Yeah, it's sad, it's disturbing, but it makes for great television.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's wild.
So yeah, next thing we see is Gideon is outside of Alana's house, and he's looking um in one of her windows, like watching her, and she's got like an officer with her, agent or whoever with her, and then we see Will walking up and
To his
towards
side.
Gideon,
Yeah.
yeah, with his gun, and Will gets to,
He still sees Hobbs though. He does not see
yeah,
Gideon at all.
that's true. That's true. He's still seeing Hobbs.
Mm-hmm. And even as
Um,
he speaks, because he has a different voice,
yep,
it's Gideon's voice coming out of Hobbs's mouth, but
yeah,
because Will is so like out of it,
yep,
he knows what's about to happen and what he's gonna have to do.
yep, yep.
And again,
And Gideon,
all manipulation from Hannibal on all sides.
Oh yeah, totally. This whole the whole scenario, everything.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So then Gideon says to Will, I don't know if I'll ever be myself again. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know
Hmm.
who I am. Basically, they're both having a crisis of like identity,
Yep.
and Will goes, well, who are you now? And Gideon says, well, I'm you. And then he talks about how they're the basically what they have in common, like they can't be in a relationship when they can't get out of their own heads, and all of this stuff. And then finally Gideon says, I wonder if I kill her, we finally realize what you've become.
Hmm.
And that's when Will shoots him, and we see.
We're inside of Alana's apartment or her
Yep.
home when we hear the gunshot, and then she
Yep.
looks out the window and she sees Gideon like on a pile of snow, and Will standing over him with the gun, and
Yep.
then Will drops the gun and falls to his knees and
Yep.
kind of falls right there too.
Yep.
So that was good. That was a really good scene.
Yep. And then we see Lecter in Jack's office, and they're having whiskey together. And Lecter says that he wants Jack to suspend Will's license to carry firearms because of all of this and whatnot. And Jack basically, he disagrees. Like he seems to have more faith in Will. Like he thinks that Will is going to be okay.
Yeah, because he goes like, why would you do that? He goes, he had 105 fever, and he
Yeah.
was still able to make it from the observatory to go save Alana, and he killed Gideon. So he's like a super agent. Like he's like the way that he's kind of approaching, like he'll be fine. He's like, but Jack, he's got mental problems, and he's had 105 fever. He's like, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like Jack again, the manipulation games, and that he needs this guy so badly because he is like this fucking super agent in his eyes anyway.
These two,
Yeah, they're both
Jack,
scumbags. Yeah,
Jack and Hannibal are the worst. They really are.
yeah. Like again, Jack is coming from good intentions though, but again, still manipulating the hell out of a sick guy.
Yep. So we see Will is in the hospital and Alana is there, like, just being with him because she's awesome.
Yeah, holding his hand and like
Yep.
really like you could see like, oh my god, he saved my life. Like literally, he's sick. He could have died, and he was still out there to help me.
Yep.
So yeah, so obviously, like I'm sure the next episode, the bond's going to be even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember how the rest of it plays out. But
Yeah, me neither. I can't remember at all. So I'm looking forward to watching them next week.
Yep.
So then Lecter is having his visit with his, well, I call it Dr. Bedelia, his Gillian Anderson's character.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about like Will's madness, and she asks, like, do you see yourself in Will's madness and everything, and they're just kind of talking about that stuff, and how Hannibal says like he feels like he has a friend in Will and everything, but the way he acts, it's like kind of, I gotta
We
call
know.
bullshit on that.
Yeah, we know it's bullshit, and she
Yeah.
even gets like a sense of it. Like you could tell she's like, oh, I smell it in the air. What?
Yeah.
You're bullshit. That's what I smell.
Yeah. And he's like, you just want me to watch my friend go insane? And she's like, sometimes all we can do is watch.
Yep. Yeah,
And
she's not playing his game.
Yep.
That's what I like about her character too, because it's like, you fooled everyone, you don't fool me.
Yep. And that is the end of episode 11.
Mm-hmm. Excellent stuff.
Great episodes, both of them.
They really were. And like I said, even like doing it like two at a time like that, it plays like a movie.
Yeah.
Every week we're watching a new Hannibal movie.
I know, it's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
It's awesome. Next week, oh my God, we're doing 12 and 13, the last episodes of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nuts. I can't believe it already.
Yeah. I vaguely remember the ending, but I don't know if it was season 1 or season 2.
I can't remember at all.
Yeah, because I remember a kitchen sequence that was kind of pivotal. But yeah, well, anyway, yeah, next week's gonna be fun. It'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, this series has not disappointed, and these last 2 episodes, how it ramped up the way that it did.
Yep.
Yeah, because now we really know it's like Hannibal is at that point where okay, like he's almost treating Will like everyone else that has been his victim. Because in other episodes we get that kind of view of oh yeah, he sort of does care about him in a weird sick way, but now we know it's just like no, he's just another one of his toys that he's playing with.
Yeah.
You know, because he's it feels like he's at a point where like he doesn't need Will anymore, kind of getting like that vibe.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun, but now I'm ready to move on because it's like shit's getting too close to my doorstep. Like he's not afraid, but he knows like it's kind of time to distance a bit. Like I'm getting that sense.
Well, Will, at some point, he's got to realize that he can't fool Will forever.
Right.
Because Will is not dumb. He just has blinders on.
Yeah. Because it's like the situation that he left both Gideon and Will in was like, oh, they'll either like finish each other off, or if Gideon does get in there and he takes her out, then Will could take him out. Like you could tell either way, he's going to make this work for himself.
Yep.
Which yeah, that's the thing about the Lecter character that's again so great and riveting to watch. It's like, yeah, what exactly is going to happen? What's his end game? What is he doing with these people?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome stuff.
Very, very awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was awesome covering these episodes with you, and I am very much looking forward to wrapping up this season next Wednesday. And if you go ahead and tell everybody what you've got going on.
Yeah, we definitely got a toy stream tomorrow night. I got one thing partially. I gotta get it tonight. Tomorrow I'll dive into it, but I gotta get this work done because I'm doing some really killer stuff with City of Venus too. And so far like these layouts and stuff. Been working on the next couple of pages. Big kind of action sequence, lots going on. So I gotta make sure that works. But tomorrow's gonna be toys. We're gonna be talking toys on my channel and Tommy in the Guinea Pig Collective's channel. Also on my X account. So tune into those, whichever one you prefer. And then Friday we're going to be talking about essentially Trump's first couple of days, the good and the bad, because there is definitely bad. It's not just all good. Hopefully he could wake up to certain things, but we'll discuss that tomorrow. And then Saturday, I can't remember the movie, but I think we're doing another movie on Slasher's channel, and of course Sunday we're finishing off Arcane, a fantastic series. We're on the last 3 episodes. It's going to be Trina, Tina, Adam, and myself, and no episodes have disappointed. Everything has been just incredible. And I had to think like RR and some of the other people who've been jumping in now and watching the series with us, because they said it too. Like a lot of them, like they weren't sure about it, they didn't know too much, or they heard some bad things. But as they were watching with us, they're like, "Holy shit, this series is amazing."
Yeah, R has been hanging out with us in the chat, covering it with us. It's been cool.
Yeah, it's been a blast. And like I said, these characters and the whole storyline, the whole thing with again the girls Vi and Jinx, their whole kind of dynamic and what happened, and just again another really really well written. You give a shit about all the characters, kind of a story. So awesome stuff. So tune in on that one. Trina, always a blast. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. And next week We're gonna
Yes.
finish this one. All season 1, we're gonna finish off.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, like Vinny said, thank you all for hanging out with us. Tommy, Time Prophet, Lurch, Frankie, This Is My Design, Lion Ratton, Stieg, and Toy Mafia. Thank you guys for dropping in the chat, and thank you, any of you who are watching this on the replay. Thank you as well.
Yes.
Appreciate all of you. And hope you all have a great night. And we will see you back here next week, same time.
That's
Looking
right.
forward to it.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.